Here's my take. Having recently discovered how the nomination process actually works in the Republican Party, Donald Trump is furious.
They wanted to keep people out. This was a dirty trick. These are dirty tricksters.
In fact, Mr. Trump is right on the first count and wrong on the second. Political parties do have mechanisms to keep people out, but far from being a trick, they are the crux of what makes parties valuable in a democracy. Political scientist Clinton Rossiter begins his classic Parties and Politics in America with this declaration: no America without democracy, no democracy without politics, no politics without parties. In a large and diverse country, in order to get things done, people need some devices to navigate the political system, organize themselves, channel particular interests and ideologies, and negotiate with others who have differing interests and views. Political parties have traditionally played this role in the United States, and they have often played it as a counterweight to the momentary passions of the public. At the heart of the American political party is the selection of its presidential candidate. This process used to be controlled by party elites, mayors, governors, legislators. In the early 20th century, an additional mechanism was added to test a candidate's viability on the campaign trail: primaries. Still, between 1912 and 1968, the man who won a party's presidential primaries became the nominee less than half the time. Dwight Eisenhower was not chosen by primary voters, but in a complex contested convention. 1968 was the year things changed. The radicalism that swept the Democratic Party also cast aside its rules for selecting nominees, favoring direct primaries over all else. The Republicans copied the Democrats, and soon the parties ended up with the system we have today. The result of these changes has been to hollow out political parties, turning them into empty vessels for the most successful political entrepreneur of the moment. In describing these trends in a book on democracy in 2003, I wrote that without strong parties, all you needed to run for president was name recognition and a fundraising machine. I predicted that the party-less system would be good for political dynasties, celebrity officials, and billionaire politicians. The frontrunners in both parties in 2016 fit this description. What is the harm of this new open system? Well, we can see it now. A party without internal strength and capacity cannot shape the political agenda. Instead, it simply reflects and amplifies the noisiest popular passions. The old system steered toward moderation because it was run mostly by local and state officials who had won general elections and then had to govern. Today, delegates are chosen by primary voters, a much smaller, narrower, and more extreme slice of the country. It's ironic that the old smoke-filled rooms were in some sense more representative of the general voter than the open primaries of today. The old parties drew their strength from neighborhood organizations, churches, unions, and local business groups. The new parties are really just Rolodexes of Washington professionals, activists, ideologues, fundraisers, and pollsters. These professionals are more extreme and less practical. They seek to turn large, diverse parties into ideological battleships. Now, the old system is almost dead, but in the current Republican race, it is trying to revive itself, perhaps one last time, to save the party from a dangerous demagogue. This is not an assault on democracy. The people will vote in November, and that vote is final. Meanwhile, we have an effort by one of the core institutions of American politics to shape the choices facing voters in that November election. Sometimes, to strengthen democracy, you have to restrain it. For more, go to cnn.com/Fareed and read my Washington Post column this week. And let's get started.